Okay, what's up, everyone, and welcome. Swing Bull here with PB Alerts. I'm going to be doing a live stream here on Micron Technology earnings. They announced earnings at 4 p.m. Eastern, so I figured I'd jump in here about 5 minutes ahead of schedule. So we kind of talk about the past earnings and what the stock did the next day after the previous earnings. SPY actually just had quite a bit of a sell-off. We were trading this earlier all the way down to 469 now, basically from 475.89, so almost 476. So almost a $7 move to the downside on SPY. I actually had some open short positions that I've been working on since late last week, and those are printing pretty well for me right now, and we were taking profit earlier as well. Actually had a SPY call credit spread. I sold the 473 call, and I bought the 474 call to form a $1 wide spread, and actually collected 50 bucks for each one that I sold. So I collected half of the spread width. So risk reward kind of built into the play there. For a $1 wide spread, if you collect 50 bucks, you're basically risking 50 to make 50, right? So it was a pretty decent play, and definitely in some pretty good profit, and been trimming the position this afternoon ever since this sell-off started. So and another thing, I was looking at the equity flow since last it was like late Wednesday, kind of Thursday morning though. So Thursday and Friday there was tons of call writing going on, and when I noticed that, and it continued for 2-3 trading sessions, the call writing, there was a ratio of like 1 to 3 for put writing to call writing. So 3x as many call writing going on than put writing. So that's definitely a bearish indicator for me. So I've been scaling into short positions since last week. So those paid pretty well there. But let's get back to why we're here today, which is Micron Technology, ticker symbol MU. They're supposed to report earnings at 4 p.m. Eastern, which is in about 3 minutes. So kind of just to kind of go over some things here. We got the consensus for EPS negative 0.97, and then forecast for the revenue 4.6 billion is what they're predicting there for Micron Technology, ticker symbol MU. So kind of just looking at a couple different websites I like to check for free information. We got 23 analyst rating for a strong buy here. One thing I wanted to note as far as the MU earnings history is you can see it's overall been good. You could see these other earnings releases, which was Q4 of 2022, Q3 of 2022, and then Q2, Q1 same year, and then the end of 2021. You can see they had no problem beating EPS. They did very well during those earnings reports. Then we kind of fast forward a little bit, and you can see a drastic change in their EPS for what it was and what was forecasted. Very positive numbers towards the end of 2022. Very positive numbers with EPS, and then all of a sudden we hit this red area here, which is basically the end of 2022 when they reported earnings there in December. And then March of 2023, this year, they reported earnings, but you can see the EPS flipped very negative. So they missed EPS on those two earnings reports. The most recent ones, they did beat the forecast, but the EPS was still very much negative. So a little concerning there, even though they beat the forecast, they still haven't gotten themselves out of the EPS, the negative EPS slump, if you will, that they've basically been in all this year. Okay. And if we scroll down a little bit, we can see what the price of MU was one day after earnings. Past the previous two earnings, they were negative the next day, negative 4%, basically the next day. March 28th of this year earnings, they were pretty positive there, plus 7%. But the one before that, they were negative the next day. So we got kind of a mixed bag in the Discord. We got some people bearish. Some people bullish that maybe they'll bounce back here since they've been kind of selling off a little bit. Let's go ahead and go back to the candlesticks here, and I'm going to switch this to the 3-minute chart. I'm going to take VWAP off because it doesn't really hold too much weight in after hours. So regular session bell just rang, so regular session is over. Now we're going to be in after hours, and let's see if we get some movement on MU. I'm going to have Twitter pulled up on the side here to see if we get some results before Webull releases the news. So let me go over here to Twitter, and let me just type in the search here, do $MU. We'll just do a little search and let's see what we got. All right, so far not much going on. Getting a little bit of bullish activity, just kind of a little flicker to the upside here. Here we go. Okay, we're getting some volatility, so should be any moment here we get the actual data for MU earnings. Let's see here, just scrolling through Twitter. Got some people playing some lottos here. So of course, if it's a lotto, be willing to lose it all, kind of like a scratch-off ticket, right? So let's see. Now, another thing to note, and I'll just pull Twitter over here on the side. Whoops, let me actually fix the screen. There we go. Let me pull MU here on Twitter. It's funny because the CEO from this person on Twitter, CEO has been dumping the stock as fast as he can, which is kind of contradictory to what the price is doing right now. Looks like we're getting a little pump on MU. Now, keep in mind, sometimes the initial pump could be, the fake out move, and then it goes the other direction. So let's see if this is, in fact, the true move, or is this just getting pumped up a little bit with volatility and then it ends up going in the opposite direction. So let's just keep my other screen pulled up here on the side. So far looking good, up 3% in after hours, getting some good bullishness here. And coming up to here, if it's going to reverse, I'd say it'd be right around 81.30, around there. That's kind of where it was reversing today. Had the opening sell-off after market open, comes up to it was like 81.30, gets rejected, comes up again to test it, gets rejected again. Now this sell-off from this afternoon, the whole market was selling off. You could see SPY on the right here. So this was probably, had a lot to do with the market in general selling off. But it still doesn't change the fact that it definitely needs to get above this 81.30 for there to be like a real good positive reaction that we can see in the candlesticks. So, so far so good. If you were bullish on this, got a 3-minute chart pulled up right now. Let's see if any news came in yet. Webull still waiting to post news. We go back to Twitter here and see if we got some results, and I'll post them on YouTube for everybody. Let's see. Okay. All right. Still waiting on the data. Let me see here. 76 put. Okay, as soon as I get it, I'll post it. But so far, positive reaction. Get above that 81.30, I think this thing could really start taking off. And there it goes. Just hit 81.80. Just look at the order book real quick. Got a little bit of a wall at 83 here. It's a 10,000 order size sitting there. They could pull that, and it could be nothing, but we'll see if it makes it up to the first place on the order book here. So right now it's still down here. Do got some support here at 78.60 on the order book. Again, don't put all your weight on these orders in the order book, because they could easily pull these orders out and it could be nothing. But it's good to know that where these big orders are, so we can kind of get a range here. So we got a range of 78.60 to 83 as far as the bigger orders on the order book. Things looking really bullish, up almost 5% in after hours. So far, congrats on the bulls. If you were bullish on this, looks like it's working out so far. Let me just go to the 1-minute chart and kind of see what it's doing. Look at these first two candles. We're kind of just very volatile, pumped up to here. Sellers pushed it right back down, 100% retraced down. And then they were able to push it back up before the candle closed. And now it looks like it's off. It could be off to the races here. So what we'd be looking for to kind of invalidate that it's not some sort of fake out move is we just, pull up your time frames on your chart, 1 minute, 3 minute, 5 minute, so we can track the data in after hours here. And what we want to start seeing are higher lows, right? As simple as that. All right, so we got the opening break here down here around 79 bucks. We could look at this level here, which is $80. That could potentially be a higher low from these previous two candles. So we kind of want to see it to continue stepping up and making the higher lows, and then we might have a solid trend on our hands in after hours here. So let's just see what this candle does right here. So far, it kind of looks like a bearish inside bar, to be honest with you. Anytime we get inside bars, that's definitely a signal. If you're looking for patterns on the candlesticks. So right here, just exactly what I highlighted here. You could see it was bullish, and then we get the red bar, which is basically on the inside of the body of this green candle. So that's what we call a bearish inside bar. So let's see if this pattern actually plays out, and it looks like it's playing out so far. It did break the low of this green candle. So we'll see if the buyers can push this up and recover that level. So at this point, we're looking at a recovery of 81.50 or higher. We want to see the buyers kind of keep it above 81.50. And if so, then this bearish inside bar can get invalidated, and then we'll just go back to looking for higher lows. Okay, so let's just kind of keep our eyes on the chart and let's kind of see what it's doing. Okay, let me check this email over here. Go back to Twitter. See if we got some results here. Okay, got the results right here. Let me go ahead and post it in YouTube so everyone can see. Okay, give me 1 second, everybody. Okay, all right. Okay, so here's the data. Okay, they just reported the earnings. All right, and EPS came in at negative 0.95. Okay, beating expectations by negative 1.01. So they did beat the EPS expectation, but again, it's still a negative EPS. So just something to keep note. Revenue came in at 4.72 billion, beating the forecast of 4.63 billion. So it looks like they beat EPS and revenue. So this has a lot to do with why we're getting this bullish reaction here. So they did beat EPS forecasts and revenue forecasts. What it's going to come down to now is what their forward guidance is. Okay, so the CEO of the company will do his earnings, his actual earnings call, press conference, if you will. Probably be a little bit later, maybe around 5 p.m. or so. If anyone has the exact time on that, let me know, and I'll post that for everybody. But just keep in mind when the CEO does do that earnings call, the little press conference they do for the earnings, there could be a secondary move. So far, we're getting a positive reaction. Of course, they beat the EPS expectations and the revenue expectations. So far, we're getting a positive reaction from investors on MU. And again, just to repeat myself, when they actually do the earnings call, there could be a secondary move. And what we want to be on the lookout for when they do the actual call is, there are a couple things could happen. When they do the forward guidance, hopefully they don't, when they do the call, the CEO doesn't give like some soft forward guidance or some negative forward guidance that sales might go down or something like that. That's going to be definitely a problem for the bulls. And if he gives some weak forward guidance, this very well could reverse and basically just look for the low in after hours around 78, 70. If there's a negative reaction to the forward guidance, if it breaks below 78.70, this very well could trend down into tomorrow. So be careful there. Again, it's all going to be dependent on the actual forward guidance. Now, the other scenario is they announce excellent forward guidance that sales are actually going to be more than they expected, and then they kind of adjust it upwards when they give the forward guidance, and that'll be the forward guidance for Q1 of 2024, right? So if they give some great forward guidance, then this will obviously probably see some continuation on MU, and we'll be looking for a break of 82.89 at that point, if they were to do that the forward guidance announcement now. So anyways, looking good for the bulls so far. They did beat EPS and revenue. It's all going to come down to the forward guidance when the CEO does the actual call, and then we'll go from there on that. But so far positive. Like I said, just keep your eye out for the candlesticks to be making these higher lows to signify an uptrend. And what I'd be looking for is some of the levels is we got a higher low right here, right? And then we kind of want to see if this holds up as a higher low. All right. And if it does and breaks this after hours high of 82.89, then that'll confirm that. But as far as where the price is at right now on the 1 minute chart, it's basically going to be the bottom of this wick, okay, where the demand was just a little bit ago, about 5-6 minutes ago. So I'd be looking for 81.20 to hold from here. And it's trading at about 81.80 right now. So let's see what happens in the next couple minutes on how these patterns might play out. And then, of course, they got the call with the CEO. I think it's probably around 5 p.m. I'll double check when that's going to be, though. Okay, SPY was not able to recover. For anyone that was watching SPY today, which is the ETF that follows the S&P 500 index, SPY was actually doing pretty good. It did lose $1 in pre-market. It basically went from 475 to like 474. Like basically, the pre-market was down $1. Then we had a nice bullish day. Like if we cut out all the recent sell-off and kind of just move it out of the screen, you can see SPY had a really decent bullish day to start the day, well into lunchtime, and then basically early afternoon. We get the huge sell-off down here, which is I was expecting something like this, and that's why I entered my SPY call credit spreads. I started scaling into them last week, and again I sold the 470. I sold the 473 call, and then I bought the 474 call, and just that $1 wide spread I collected 0.50, so I collected $50 on each one. So I collected half the width on that, and it was just a beautiful trade to see that play out today. So there was a bunch of profit on the table from that. So beautiful thing. That's why everyone, you gotta play both sides. Don't just be. I know the market, we're basically in another bull market right now. SPY. I mean, just look at the daily chart on SPY, and pretty amazing move here from when it hit 407.56 and all the way up to 475.89, which was the high from today. And that entire move was about a little less than 2 months it took. Okay, so like a month and a half of trading days, and it literally went from 407.56 to 475.89. Quite a significant move. And like I was saying earlier, some of the equity flow feeds that I track and pay premium subscriptions for, you got to pay for that kind of stuff. It's basically one of the feeds was the ratio of put writing to call writing, and I had just noticed since last Thursday, it was basically all day Thursday, all day Friday, and then all day yesterday. The call writing it was like 3x to put writing, and when people are selling calls, they're short the market. So I started scaling into short calls, and that paid off pretty well today. So the data flow is very important. Of course the candlesticks are, because that's what tells us what the price action is doing at the moment. But we also need to look at equity flow and option flow, put call ratio, put call writing ratio. Those are very important things. Another great tool I like to use is this vol D ratio. You can see the vol D ratio right here This is one of my indicators. You can put it's a free indicator on TradingView. So just click on indicators and type in vol-D. It should pop right up for you. But vol-D ratio at the end of the day today is negative 9.59 to 1. The threshold for me for basically an extreme bearish signal for me for the vol-D is negative 3 to 1 ratio. So anything less than that, so negative 3, negative 4, negative 5, those are all going to be very, very strong bearish signals for me on the vol-D. And what that ratio means is the volume on advancing stocks compared to the volume on declining stocks. Okay, that's what the vol-D ratio is. And if when I'm looking for a bearish readout on vol-D, I'd like it to be negative 3 to 1 ratio or less. The less the better, for the bears. So it's sitting at negative 9 to 1. So that's extremely a bearish signal. And then of course the other indicator is my ADD indicator. It's called ADD. I'm just trying to throw out some Easter eggs for everyone. Some easy tools you can add to your toolkit to help kind of gauge the market. ADD, I like to see this. If I'm looking for bearish, I'd like to see negative 1,000 or less. Right now, it's less than that at negative 1458. So that's extremely bearish as well. And what the ADD, it basically compares the actual number of stocks. So it would be the advancing stocks to the declining stocks, and it's the number of stocks. So and that's what ADD stands for, is advancers and decliners. Okay, so if you're looking for bearish signals, vol-D negative 3 to 1 ratio is pretty strong for me. And of course, ADD negative 1,000 or less is going to be that's two pretty good bearish signals. And even when this sell-off started, you could have looked at the vol-D. It was sitting at negative 5 to 1 ratio, and that's just screaming super bearish. And that's why we got some continuation to the downside here. vol-D was just not letting up at all, and ADD just kept declining as well. So just some neat little indicators everyone can use. Just looking at the 10-year yield here, and this is the 15-minute chart. So it has been on the decline. And I was looking at consumer discretionary ETF earlier as well, and basically was looking for this to hold 178. It's basically sitting on top of it right now. If it fills 178, I think it comes back down right around like 167, 168. You could do a short play there. It does hold 178, and we get buyers stepping back into the play. I think this could be an easy trade up to the mid 180s for some call options, and that's on XLY, Consumer Discretionary ETF. So anyways, let's go back to MU, see what it's doing. It is trending up. It is making higher lows. So we definitely got some action for the bulls on MU. Let's look at some current fundamentals on MU. They'll obviously change a little bit now that the earnings was released just now. And this is one of the things that had concerned me before, was that the very negative PE ratio, but it was so negative you'd expect there'd be a bounce there on PE ratio. So that might change closer, it won't be negative 6. Maybe that improves, some there, and get closer to the 0 line. EPS was pretty negative. Now they do pay a small dividend, 0.58%. So that's nice, just kind of cherry on top there. But looking at the financials, net income, they were having trouble with that, and now it has been improving. It's been getting better. So what I mean by that is it's not as negative as it was a couple quarters ago. So there is some improvement there. And with them beating EPS and revenue on this earnings, that's going to be positive for them. Really attractive debt to asset ratio, only 31% on this. So they got plenty more assets than they need to cover all their liabilities. Debt to asset for this fundamental, I like to see it at least below 100%. So that's like their degree of leverage. If you're doing some DD on some stocks and you're looking at debt to asset, you want to make sure it's below 100%, because you pull up a stock and it's like 150% debt to asset, that means they have more liabilities than assets, and they're over leveraged as a company. So that's not a good thing. But MU sitting at 31%, so that's a really nice debt to asset ratio on MU. Okay, SPY hit a low of 467.36 on the last 15-minute candle. And kind of zoom out a little bit on SPY, see where possibly the next level could be. We got this wick down here from December 14th, which was last Thursday. It wicked down to 467.37. Yeah, 467.36 there. Turned into a demand zone and it got scooped up and went higher from there. That's basically, it did come down to 467.36, so it's kind of in the ballpark of where that demand zone was. And I'd be looking for it to hold here. If anyone was curious on SPY, needs to hold this level, because this is the level from last Thursday. That's the low from last Thursday. It's got to hold here. If not, this thing's going to go lower and probably go to 464 next. There's a good chance that could happen. If you just look at this bullish run that it had on December 13th, which was last Wednesday, you could see the force of the bullish pump it had that day. So anytime it goes up that strong, it definitely can retrace a lot easier, because there's not much consolidation where there could be some levels formed. It was basically just a straight shot up from there. So if this does lose 467, the low 467s, right? So 467 and some change, I think the next stop very well, it's going to be 464. So if that happens, and after hours here tonight on SPY, maybe we do lose that 467 in after hours for whatever reason. And if it doesn't recover that level by market open tomorrow, I'd probably be looking to play puts down to 464. But we'll see. We'll see. Okay, so far, don't really have any fake out moves on MU. I mean, we did have these first two 1-minute candles when the volatility started. We had a nice pump. Then we had a 100% retrace to the downside. But then buyers stepped right back in, and it's been making higher lows ever since. So it's looking good. It looks like it's trending up. And again, I believe the CEO does his earnings call at 5 p.m. Eastern. I'm still trying to verify that, but just keep in mind, when the CEO starts talking about the forward guidance, depending on what he says, could determine if there's going to be a secondary move, like a reversal. If he gives some weak forward guidance for whatever reason, this very well could come back down. But if all things remain constant and they don't adjust the forward guidance to the downside at all, maybe they just leave it alone. Or even better for the bulls, if they increase the forward guidance and adjust it upwards, then I don't think the up move on MU is over with. We're probably going to see some continuation if they give some favorable forward guidance. Okay, so that's what I would be looking for. Okay, so we talked about SPY, and again, I've been scaling into short positions since the end of last week, because I just saw a lot of call writing going on. And if anyone has any tickers they want me to look at, I'd be more than happy to pull them up on this right chart here on my screen. Maybe we can try and hunt down some supply and demand zones, see where some liquidity is at, and things like that. We can take a deep dive into some fundamentals on the company. I'll give you my opinion on whether I would personally put it in my retirement account or not. Okay, Harry, welcome. Harry from YouTube. Asked about WBA. Okay, it's Walgreen Boots. I've played this many times in the past. It's basically Walgreens, right? So let's just start on the weekly chart. As anytime I look at any stocks that maybe I haven't looked at in a little bit, I always start on the bigger time frames to see if we can get some solid bigger time frame levels. And I really do think it's probably going to be around 28 bucks. Could be some resistance. I'm only saying that because it was support back here in October of 2022. Actually, it was some really good support there. Hit a low of about 28 bucks and almost went to $40 from there. So that definitely was a demand zone at that point in time in October of 2022. But we always know, demand zones flip to supply anytime levels get broken. And the same thing with support and resistance. If the support breaks, a lot of times we'll see a retest of it after. If it breaks to the downside, we'll see the retest to the upside, and then it's used as resistance, and we get continuation to the downside. So kind of same theory here. So if you're interested in possibly going long on it, I definitely would have a line right around 28 bucks. Because this is going to be a level that's probably going to be important, I think. Another thing to note is the price action is above this 20 MA. I do like seeing that. Now that's on the weekly chart. Now that we got a weekly level at 28 bucks, and obviously the support here is going to be around 1967, right? And it doesn't have to be to the penny, but you could say 1950 to 20 bucks. That could be like the most recent support, right? So what we can do is I'm actually going to do this instead. Let me delete this. And I think I'm going to go from for the resistance or supply. I'm probably going to go from 28, and then I will catch the bottom of these candles here. So we get a little zone there, and it looks like it comes out to basically 28 to 27. Okay, you can kind of put that red, right? That's because it's resistance since the price is below it. So this is going to be the resistance that I would like to see WBA break above the $27, $28 area. That's going to be a very positive thing. And again, we're on the weekly chart. Something else to note, the TTM squeeze looks like it wants to flip soon. It hasn't flipped yet. So be on the lookout for that to flip bullish. That would be a good signal. MACD already crossed over bullish, but just keep in mind the actual MACD line is still in the negative, the MACD line and the signal line. Histogram, of course, in the positive when it turns green. But, we did get the bullish crossover. We got the orange MACD line cross this blue signal line to the upside. That's usually an indication of a start of an uptrend. And that's why I like using MACD. Some people don't use it, but I like to use it because I've noticed I've caught some really great reversals on the MACD. Look at when this weekly chart MACD crossed over. You can probably pinpoint it like right here, right? So that was November 17th, 2023. And MACD is already saying we're going bullish, right? So you could have, along with some other things, don't use an indicator by itself. Try and get a couple other things telling you the same thing. But we get the bullish crossover on the MACD along with the histogram MACD candles turning green. And that was before the pump. So there was a way to have a little bit of edge on this trade before this happened. And it was just a simple MACD could have been a good indication there that, we could jump into the party a little early. Even though the candle price action wasn't bullish yet. It was kind of consolidating sideways, right? But as soon as that MACD flipped over, that could have been a good indication. And then basically just keep your stop loss right below the low of these wicks to keep your risk in check. So anyways, the range on the support, I'd probably, we were saying probably 1950 to 20 bucks. So like a little 50-cent range, I think would be ideal there for the support. So I'm draw another box here from basically 1950 to 20 bucks, around there. You get close enough, that's fine. Okay. So if you're currently long on Walgreen Boots, and you're already in the profit, just keep in mind this 27 to 28 bucks. we very well could see some resistance there. And it looked, it hit 26.23 today. Looks like it's still going to close as a green doji, which is good. But just keep in mind how big this upper wick is, because it obviously shows that the sellers, had a little bit more control of this candle than the buyers did, because that bottom wick is a little bit smaller, right? So anyways, for continuation, basically just needs to hold the low of today, which is around 24.75. So if you're not in the play yet, you missed the first two green candles, you can try and get the last tail end of the run, possibly. If it does come up to retest this $27 area, there's still some room for it to go up there, basically like $1.50 more up to the upside. So you could maybe do a little swing trade a day or two or something like that. But if you enter the trade now, my stop loss would be right below today's low. So that's 24.75. Maybe put it at 24.50 to give it a little bit of breathing room. Sometimes the price gets pushed down a little bit less than the previous low and ends up shooting straight back up. So I like to give myself a little bit of breathing room. Don't put it right at the wick low, because the institutions and hedge funds, they're not dumb. No, they cannot see your stop market orders. They can't see them, but they're not dumb. They know everyone has them right below this wick. So, they can go on a little stop hunt if they want. So that's why I usually add a little bit of cushion, because I've seen a lot, especially this year, where the price will come right down for the stop hunt. It'll get everyone stops for liquidity, and then they blast it up. So I don't ever put mine right where the level is. I put it a little bit less, because they like to fake people out. When I say they, basically the big money, right? And the algos and stuff like that. So my risk tolerance on this moving forward from current price, okay, would probably be like $24.50. That's my risk on this moving forward. And if you're already in the play, and you did get a piece of these two bigger green candles and you're still in it, you might want to think about taking some profit in $27 to $28 area. We could see some resistance there. It's always a good idea to take some profit and take some risk off the table. Okay, so that's what I would do on Walgreens. But I do like the company. Their EPS hasn't been doing too great lately, but they do pay a 7.5% dividend, which is fantastic. And their forecast PE ratio is still positive. Could look at some other fundamentals. Looks like they had a pretty bad Q1 of 2023. They lost a bunch of money then, but they've been on the recovery since then. So that's good to see there. And if we go to the annual basis, not too good there. So zoom into the quarterly, and there is a recovery on net income. So that's always good to see. Debt to assets, 70%. A little high, but still below the 100% we like that at. So no worries there. But technical analysis wise, these are the levels that I'd be zoning in on. So Harry, I hope that maybe helped your analysis on WBA, or if anything, it reinforced maybe what you were already thinking, right? Yep, no problem. You're very welcome. And Harry also says WBA has earnings next week. So also be on the lookout for that. Okay. Let's see here. Let me go to, I just want to go to, of course, the heat map turned bloody red. But the first part of the day, this was super bright green. You can see how quick the heat map can flip when SPY sold off. But I did want to look at earnings whispers for Walgreens, see if we can get exact time. I'm showing earnings isn't until January 4th on Walgreens, before the market open, January 4th, Thursday. So it's actually in 2 weeks is the earnings for Walgreens. So you got a couple more weeks to play with there with Walgreens. Okay. All right. Let me see. Is MU good to short at 90? It's what time is it? 4:34 p.m. Eastern. Um, it's kind of hard to ask that to answer that question right as of this moment because we haven't gotten the CEO hasn't done his earnings call yet. So tomorrow morning I'd have a great answer for you. But if there's a positive reaction to the forward guidance that the CEO talks about in his call, this very well could continue upwards if it's taken positively. If they give weak or adjust their forward guidance and make it weaker, this very well could come back down. And of course, shorting at 90 would be fine. But if we want to look at some technical analysis levels, of course, it's not going to show after hours. Anytime you go to the daily, and this is on Webull, other brokers are different, but daily, weekly, it won't give you the after hours price action because right now, look, it just shows the daily candle. It just shows the red that it had today. But as soon as you flip to the 4 hour, you can see the after extended hours price action at that point. So we know it's sitting right around 80, 82 and some change, right? But looking at the weekly chart, shorting at 90, it would be a little worrisome if it did go against us a little bit. I think there's some pretty strong resistance at 97. It's pretty obvious on the chart here where it kind of came up to the mid 90s twice. Did it in 2021. It did it in 2022. It's almost 1 year apart there. And you could see the reaction it has when it gets to that level. So when it did it in 2021, came up to about 95 bucks and some change, ended up selling off all the way down to 65 bucks. So that's quite a sell-off, a $30 move to the downside just on the shares. And then even worse, the last time it came up to the mid 90s, it wicked up to 97 bucks. And you can just see on the chart it came all the way down to 47, 48 bucks. So it lost 50% of its value that time. So I do like your idea. This is also from Harry on YouTube. So MU a good to short at 90. From what I'm seeing on the candlesticks, I think it would be a good short, maybe in the mid 90s. Maybe the lower 90s. Maybe you could start scaling in. If you're confident in that $90 level for whatever reason, maybe you did some of your own research and for some reason you're confident that 90 is not going to get broken through, then you could maybe start your short position there just in case it does come back up to the mid 90s like it's done the past 2 years in a row. Just make sure when you put your initial entry in that it's not your whole allocation. So depending on your portfolio size, let's say, okay, the max I'm gonna allocate for this particular MU short is $1,000, just for instance. Then, maybe if you start entering the play around 90, don't put in the whole $1,000, maybe leg into it, maybe like a 20%, 30%, 50% buy-in strategy. It's kind of like a 2-3-5 strategy, I guess you could call it. So your first entry would be 20% of the $1,000, so that's $200. If it starts going against you, you still have 2 more bullets left in the chamber. You got a 30% entry, and then your final entry should be your biggest entry. So you kind of get 2 chances for it to work out in your favor. So instead of just like a 1 entry, 1 sell play, leave yourself a couple bullets in the chamber to make sure you can get the best possible average. And if you do get to the point where you add that final 50% entry, which would be, of course, $500 on a $1,000 entry. So first entry, $200. If it goes against you a little bit, put in your second entry of $300. Final entry of 500 is your final life-saving bullet. You could enter that. Just make sure on your final entry, you got to put a tight stop loss in after that. But if you're not fully allocated, maybe you're only on the first entry, or maybe you're just on the second entry, just keep your eye on the chart. Make sure you don't get, it doesn't go to the moon and blow your short out the water. Definitely put a stop loss in, a buy to cover stop loss of some sort. But basically, if you get to that third and final entry, you really want to tighten that stop up nice and tight, because at that point, you've given yourself 3 opportunities to be right about the play. And if it's still not right, then you just need to get out and take your small loss with the tight stop. Okay. All right, good stuff. So we talked about some really cool things. Got Micron. Yeah, they're still going too. And remember what I was saying earlier, that 8130 level, which was that resistance on Micron from earlier today. It definitely broke through that, and that could also be a support level to put a line on your chart. 8130, like Micron to hold that. And then if you're just gauging after hours price action, then go to the smaller time frames, and you just want to see it to continue making higher lows, which it's looking like that's what it's doing right now. But on that note, yeah, sure, Harry, no problem. And it looks like I'm going to be doing earnings streams every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern. So this is going to be like a weekly thing for us. And if anyone wants to join our free group, there's a link in the YouTube description. You can join our free group. We just talk about stocks and options all day, basically. And then we do lots of live trading several times a week. It's a good strategy, sir. I usually do one shot. Like your suggestions. Yeah, absolutely. And especially if your confidence level is pretty high on the trade, just leave yourself a couple extra bullets. It could really save you. I've had a lot of trades that initially went against me, and it ended up going in my favor after I added the second and third bullet. And then it was a great trade. But if you're only doing one entry, one sell, there's not really much management you can do, right? If you go 100% allocation on your first entry, there's not much there's really no management you can do except for maybe turning it into a spread or something like that. And we trade spreads all the time in our group. I have a lot of fun doing that. Let's see here. Can you check PFE too? Yeah, let me check PFE as well. At least get some levels for you. Look at some fundamentals and check and see when the earnings are. So Pfizer's come down. It's basically been in this downtrend. Now this is the daily chart. Okay. This green line on my daily chart, this is the MA20. Okay, I've been using it for quite a while. It's very simple. I don't have 10 lines on my chart where I can't even see the damn candles, right? I just keep it simple. I call it KISS, keep it simple, stupid. And usually when the price, depending on what side of the MA20 it's on, we usually get a solid trend out of it. And you can even see going back in time on Pfizer right here. As soon as this price broke to the upside of this green 20 MA, I mean, you could have just bought some call options with some decent amount of time on it, maybe a couple months of time. And, it's a huge payday right there. Also, you could just do the equity. I mean, even from down here at 42 and it went to 52, I mean, that's almost a 20% return just on the equity. And we're just using the MA20 for that. Same thing on the downside. So Pfizer comes out of this up move. And then very simple, price breaches the downside of the MA20. We do get a couple retests like right here. That's actually even safer. If it breaks to the downside, wait for the retest. And then if the next candle's red, you'd be pretty safe getting into that play to short it. But you can see just using the MA20, you get some really solid signals on this. And of course, use it in concurrence with RSI, especially like when this PFE broke to the downside of the MA20, take a quick look at the RSI. It is, in fact, was trending down and making lower highs and lower lows. So that's a good confirmation with the price action break of the MA. RSI is trending down. There was a existing bearish signal on the MACD where this orange MACD line cross this blue signal line to the downside. So that could have been another indicator that this short is probably going to be pretty safe to enter. And then, of course, the TTM flipped bearish down here. Basically, right when it broke below the MA20, the TTM was already firing off some bearish deal there. So you see what I'm doing here? I got like a little checklist, and now instead of just we get one signal and then I'm going to make a decision about a trade. What I like to do is if I can get like 3 things telling me something, okay, not only did the price action break below the MA20, we got a downtrending RSI, we got a bearish crossover on the MACD, the TTM squeeze flip bearish. Now I literally have 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I have 4 different things telling me bearish. My confidence level on the short trade is going to be pretty good, right? So these are kind of some of the things you need to be looking out for to give yourself more confidence before you enter a trade. So anyways, let's see if we can spot some levels on here that would be some levels of interest. Of course, something to note, there was this gap down that Pfizer had recently, okay? It was between December 12th and December 13th. So this was literally last week, a week ago. It was from Tuesday to Wednesday. Pfizer had the big gap down. It now has filled the gap, basically. I mean, it might be off by a little bit, like 5 cents or something, but it basically filled the gap. The gap is basically unresolved price action. Okay. So when we talk about gap fills, that's basically the price filling the gap to resolve the unresolved price action. Okay. And a lot of times once the gap fills, we usually see a move there, and it's either one or the other. Very simple. The gap fills and we get continuation, or the gap fills and it reverses down now that the price action is resolved. It's either one of the two, and have a trade set up for each way. That way you can play it either way. This ended up opening up today red, which means the gap filled and now it's come back down. So there is a little bit of a short to be had here. But if you're looking to get in long, basically the bottom of yesterday's candle, this is what we call a Marubozu candle, kind of like a solid bullish candle. There's barely any wick on top or bottom. The buyers just had complete control of this candle the whole day yesterday, and kind of the opposite's happening today. The sellers, you zoom in on this daily chart, there's really no bottom wick there, so sellers have complete control today. All right, but yeah, I think when especially after it gapped down and wicked down to 25.76, you notice the big bottom wick. So that definitely was some demand area down here around 25.75. Very next day, basically sellers try and push it down, but it never does come completely down to the 25.76, and then it kind of went on a multi-day run here. The past couple of days, and now it's selling off a little bit. So basically, I'd be for support number 1. We'll just call it S1. It's very simple. It's just going to be the bottom of yesterday's candle. That would be my S1 on this. Okay, so that's going to be right around 27.25. Just call that S1. So if you were to go long on Pfizer to, now for whatever reason, my risk on this would basically be the low of yesterday. So on a $27 stock, that's a pretty good risk there for potential great upside. And profit target number 1 is going to be 28.25. So kind of a tight range, not going to lie, kind of a tight range. So, instead of the equity, maybe do the options on this, because then you get the leverage, right? So it's kind of stuck in this dollar range right now. But like I say, for whatever reason, if you want to go long on it, my stop loss would probably be right around $27 on it. Below that, I would get out of my long position and consider shorting it back down to 25, 26. Okay. Now if it can get above today's high and yesterday's high that formed, which is right around 28.25. Okay. Price target number 1. Would probably be around $29. Okay. And that also puts the price above this 20 MA, which would be a good thing. Because remember, we were talking about the 20 MA, we went through some examples. If it can get above that 20 MA, usually we see a decent run out of it. The same thing on the downside. If it loses the 20 MA, we get a decent run out of it, for shorts. So just a couple things to consider We're not above the 20 MA yet. Okay, so it's not like a screaming bullish signal for me, even though it's just coming off of a 3-day run from hitting the low of 25.75. But where the price is at right now, for me to have super confidence in the trade, for me to go long, I like it above 28.25. Okay, it needs to get above today's high and yesterday's high, just get a solid break and close above that. Above 28.25, I would consider going long on this. Below 27.25, I'd probably short this back to 26. Okay, so that's kind of the two plays. Right now, it's kind of just in no man's land. It's kind of in a gray area because it's sitting right almost in the middle of yesterday's green candle. So we don't quite know, are the sellers gonna 100% retrace the buyers from yesterday, or do the buyers still have some steam left in the tank and they can recover from here and push this up over 28.25, which was the resistance from the past 2 days. Okay, sorry about that. My office phone is ringing. Let me just mute that. So anyways, looks like Micron's holding up, kind of stalled out a little bit, but it did have a nice pump up to 82.89, sitting here at 82.54 right now. So again, just keep your eye on the patterns that we talked about earlier. Would like for this to continue making higher lows. Okay, that would be ideal. And then be on the lookout for the call from the CEO. Because if he changes the forward guidance and weakens it, or maybe makes it stronger, there could be a secondary move. But on that note, it's been about an hour. I'm going to go ahead and sign off for the night. Harry, if you want to, I can check those out for you for sure. Join our free group. That link in the description of YouTube. Just click on it. It's free to join. It doesn't cost anything. And we're all about free stuff over here. Join the group and shoot me a DM. And I'll personally check those two tickers for you through a DM. And my name on the Discord is the Swinging Bull. Once you get into the free group, just shoot me a DM. I have no problem doing that privately for you. But on that note, I'm going to go ahead and end the stream. And like I say, I'm going to be doing this every single Wednesday, starting at 4 p.m. We're gonna sometimes it's Thursday. I try and do Wednesdays, and we're gonna go over earnings every single week on Wednesdays. And then like we did tonight, I'll go over some other tickers, and we can kind of see if we can snipe out some solid levels for everybody. But on that note, I hope everyone enjoys the rest of their night. And I'll see everybody in the next stream. Cheers, everybody.